Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about zines, which is going to be a wonderful time. Today's video is going to be a follow-on from my other video, why I don't think Instagram is good for artists. So if you haven't seen that video yet, go watch that. But this is like the continuation after that video, which got really good interaction. I really loved reading all of your comments in the discussion that was happening. If you can't be bothered to go watch that video, the gist of it, among many other reasons why I don't like Instagram, the part that relates to this video is how the platform makes us consume content en masse, and therefore we're consuming art and illustration en masse. And I really think it's contributing to the devaluation of art in general, on the practice of making art. So I was really thinking about what some alternatives might be to that dreadful social media platform that, by the way, I haven't been on for the whole of May and I feel really great about it. Anyway, stop talking about Instagram. What I want to talk about today is zines. I feel like zines are a great alternative to some of the nice things about Instagram. The few nice things that I think I will miss from Instagram. One of those is looking at illustrators' work, discovering new illustrators' work, and another one is the community aspect of Instagram, the creative community aspect. And I would like to put forward the argument in this video that you can find both of those things in the world of zines. This probably isn't a newsflash to a lot of people that have been in the zine community for a while, but I'm new to it. I'm new to the culture of zines, so I'm coming at it from a completely beginner's perspective. For those of you that don't know what zines are, I've written down a little paragraph to kind of explain what I think they are, but it's kind of open to interpretation. A zine is an independently / self-published booklet made by a single person or a collective, and typically it's printed on a copy machine or with the ethos of DIY / low production value. It usually contains text, poetry for example, illustration, art, photography. So it can be like a journal that you might want to publish, it can be publishing sketchbook pages, it can be a collection of essays, poetry, illustration, a little photography project that you want to get out there. It can be such a wide variety of things. So after I had that realization about zines and how it can be a way of replacing some of the great things about social media without the many toxic attributes, I opened Etsy and I spent £100 English on zines from lots of UK makers. A lot of them I hadn't heard of before. Yeah, I've just had the best time ever getting the best post through my door, and at the end of this video I'm going to do a zine haul so you can see every zine that I bought. I have a red pile and a not yet red pile. This is my red pile. I've been loving reading zines every evening. It's been so nice, it's so wholesome. And then this here is my yet to be read TBR zine pile. But yeah, I'll do a little haul of all the zines I bought at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. But first, I wanted to give a little introduction to zine culture and the zine community and talk a little bit about the history of zines because it's quite interesting. The origins of the word zine tell the story of how this publishing subculture first appeared. It's a shortened variation of the word magazine, which may seem obvious to some, but it's also short for fanzine, a name utilised for the indie publications popular from the 1930s onwards, and covering subjects such as science fiction, horror, punk, rock and roll, and feminism. The first zine is traced back to a pamphlet published in May of 1930 by the Science Correspondence Club in Chicago. It was called The Comet, and it started a long-lasting tradition of zines in various sci-fi fandoms. Zines were then embraced by the punks of London, LA and New York in the 1970s as a counterattack to elitism in mainstream music journalism and the music industry as a whole. The rise of copy machines and print shops allowed zine makers to produce their work quickly and cheaply, and so the movement grew in popularity. Zines were also vital to the popularisation and spread of punk music in countries outside of the UK and America, such as Ireland and Indonesia. Fast forward to the early 1990s, and the birth of the underground feminist punk movement, Riot Girl, meant that the medium of zines was called upon again. The explosion of creativity within the pages of the homemade cut and paste or Xerox zines shone a light on a variety of feminist topics, describing experiences with sexism, mental illness, discrimination and much more. Zines served as a place to discuss issues that were still considered taboo in mainstream media and the culture at the time. In the 2010s, zine culture experienced yet another resurgence due to the increasing popularity of zine libraries, festivals and workshops. which were organised and publicised online. The digital age has connected creatives with organisers, but the continued popularity of zine fairs proves that in-person networking and distribution remain important activities to makers and fans alike. So why am I so excited about zines? I think the main reason I'm so excited about them is because I see them as a way of getting back some of that slow appreciation of art that you might have when you walk around an art gallery, which obviously we can't do at the moment, when you might go to a craft fair, which obviously we can't do at the moment, but hopefully we will be able to soon. I'm really wanting to get that slow appreciation of art back, that re-evaluation of art that I think is being taken away by social media platforms, which are making us consume art at such a fast pace and en masse that I think is just devaluing people's time and effort and skill that they put into their work. And oh my gosh, reading zines really is exactly that. It's a slow appreciation of someone's art and someone's ideas as well. Something else that's really lovely about zines is that it's such a cure for digital fatigue. If you have a job where you spend a lot of time looking at screens, if you have a social media addiction, which I definitely am susceptible to, zines are a tangible piece of art that you can hold in your hands. It's kind of like looking at someone's Instagram profile, but it's on paper. And if you're an artist or a maker, you know how therapeutic and lovely it is to feel paper, to have paper in your hands, to see all the different textures. Another reason that I love zines so much is because it's non-hierarchical. It's a really accessible community, and there's none of that focus on perfectionism, which is rife on social media because you're all competing with each other. Zines have always been a format that is supposed to be DIY, it's supposed to be anti-professionalism. That means that they're so much more accessible to people that don't have the money for all of the equipment that you need to make these really high quality products. You don't need to have any printing equipment. You can just go to your local stationery store and get them photocopied. You're encouraged to use the cheapest materials. That's more than okay. Also, there's not that focus on numbers. You can be a completely unknown artist or poet or creator of any kind, and you can make a zine, and you can take your zine to a zine fair perhaps, I don't know, set up an Etsy shop. You don't have to have the numbers behind you in order to start putting your work out there. Zines just do away with all of that. You can start creating right now. You're given permission to just make your work, put it out there. No need for numbers, no need for a follow account. No need for likes. Something else that I love about zines, which we've just talked about, is the really interesting history of them. I love that there's like a political element to their history, past and present. I love that it's a way of sharing like alternative viewpoints. From what I can see as a newbie to the zine world, it's a very inclusive community. From what I've seen from my research, it's a place that really uplifts minority voices, working class people. The LGBTQ plus community is a massive part of zine culture. You can share your art and your viewpoints and a piece of your soul if you want to. A piece of your soul, that sounds really sinister. I don't know if I mean that. I mean just like share more personal things about yourself, because it's kind of enclosed in this beautiful little book. It feels safer than just broadcasting your emotions all over the internet for strangers. Obviously, another thing that is great about zines is that you've got complete freedom from the algorithm and complete freedom from any of the trendy things that are going around the internet. You don't have to make a comment about this new hot topic. You don't have to abide by any kind of stylistic trends that are going around. You can make exactly the kind of work that you want to make. So really, niche ideas are welcome, revolutionary ideas are welcome. You don't have to be saying something that is relatable in order for it to be shared, which is what you kind of have to do on social media. In my video about Instagram and artists, I spoke about unpaid labour and how social media platforms encourage creators to spend an awful lot of time, which is completely unpaid, churning out content for the apps in order to make a few sales maybe, but often not. Often all you're doing is just adding to the feed. And there's no money exchange there. I said in my video that I don't think we should normalise that. I don't think we should normalise spending vast amounts of time which are completely unpaid. Zines can be a really great way of supporting artists and supporting them in a really affordable way. Zines vary in price, but they kind of ranged from maybe £3 to £6. Rather than buying like a print, for example, if you don't have much wall space, or if you don't want to then have to buy a frame on top of buying the print, you can buy a zine. You might live in rented accommodation and you can't hang things on your wall. They're so tiny, they just fit on your bookshelf, fit in a drawer. I just think that they're a much more practical way of supporting artists. I like having a stack of zines beside my bed. They're a really nice thing to read just before you go to sleep. You're not looking at a screen. Especially zines by illustrators are a lovely thing to read before bed. They're like a little graphic novel. Some of the zines that I bought are actually made by more than one person. It'll either be someone who puts a call out for contributors, or it will be a collective, so a group of people that work together on projects often. So I really love the collaborative element of the zine community. I think that should be encouraged. I think that social media can be so isolating. Being able to work with other creatives is a really nice thing to do and produce a product together. I think the last thing I want to say about zines before we go and have a little look at everything I've got is how nice it is to be seeing other artists and other creators' work and engaging with it without feeling like you're being targeted by marketing or by algorithms, and you're not feeling like your data is being collected. You don't feel like at any point you're going to get an ad or you're treated like a consumer before anything else. It's just this kind of more private, insulated space where it's just you and the artwork. There's none of that interference of these capitalist social media platforms, which for me is just so refreshing. I've always been incredibly uncomfortable with being considered a consumer first and foremost, but that is what society wants to see you as. They want you to buy more things, and I'm very anti-consumerism. It really stresses me out. So zines have just been a beautiful escape from that, and maybe you'll find that too. So thanks for sitting through that little rant that I just gave about the reasons why I think you should explore zine culture. Now let's look at where exactly my £100 went, and I'll talk through the zines that I've read, give you a little review of them. I've read some absolutely amazing ones that I can't wait to talk about with you, and then we'll talk about the ones that I'm yet to get to but also look amazing, and that'll be the end of the video. So let's do it. Let's bring you in a bit closer. The first zine that I want to talk about with you is this one. This is an illustrated zine by illustrator Robert Sae-Heng. He is an illustrator that I have followed online for such a long time. I think his work is lovely. Yeah, I'm really happy to finally have a piece of his artwork in my home. So this is a zine all about his trip to Finland, and he's just basically illustrating some of his favourite moments. What have I written about it? A zine for remembering the small peaceful moments: tree climbing, mushroom picking, people watching. It's about his adventures in Moominland, aka Finland. So yeah, there's some references to Tove Jansson in this, which is nice. This zine made me feel very relaxed. Craig read this zine too. I just wanted to show him the charm of zines, so I thought this was a good introduction to what they can be like, and he loved it. The next zine that I read is a bigger format. This is called Roots, and it's by Roots Riso, which is an art studio, printing studio in Stockport. So pretty local to me. I was really excited to find out that this existed, and I wouldn't have known about this had I not done the Etsy search for UK zines. It's got art, illustration, photography, poetry and design inside, and the first issue has a theme of roots. Something that's really great about this magazine is that it says, brings together creatives from mixed backgrounds. We especially like to represent minorities such as working class people and BAME individuals and non-artists. So that's lovely. I'll definitely be getting volume 2 when it comes out. The third zine I bought was such a delight to read. As you can see, the zines come in all different shapes and sizes. I like all the different formats, different printing methods, different textures, different paper quality. It's just a very interesting experience to pick up a zine. So this one is called Who Were You in a Past Life by Sarah Hinley, and she is one half of a sister duo, and they have an Etsy shop called To Be or Not To Be. And this zine is such a delight. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure story, and then it tells you what you were in your past life. I got a frog, which I was really happy about. I love frogs. Next up, I have a different format again. So this is like a concertina style. It's by illustrator Gemma Pratt. Etsy shop is called Jemmy's Cloud. It's kind of just like an exploration of like personal growth. It's like printed on the front and back, which is lovely. There's lots of work here to look at. And she also gave me an illustrated bookmark, which I will definitely be using. Oh, and she also put some original artwork in as well. That's another lovely thing about buying zines. It says, I found that creators are often adding additional little bits in as well. The next zine that I read was very different to the other ones, which are mostly based around creatives and illustrators in particular. This is not. This is a historical zine. It's called Burning Women, the European Witch Hunts, Enclosure and the Rise of Capitalism. This subject matter is right up my street. I'm really interested in learning about that period in history. I think it was a huge turning point and kind of helps us to understand where we are in the modern day. There are a few little illustrations, historical illustrations in it, but it is mostly just text. This is a zine that connects the dots between the early days of the rise of capitalism and the church, and then also links that to the oppression of women, the beginnings of our disconnection from our own lands and from the natural world. The witch trials were kind of one of the earliest stages in creating divisions within the working classes. The next zine I read is by an artist I had never heard of before, and I actually think this is a prime example of someone creating amazing work, but it being lost in the algorithm potentially, because the subject matter does need and deserve a bit more time, and the illustrations are quite dark and surreal, and perhaps that doesn't translate very well on social media platforms. I'm wondering anyway, which is completely undeserved because this artwork is really stunning. So I'm really glad to have found their work. This is a zine about a man who wakes up and lies to his girlfriend about how much money he's given to charity. Next up, I have some beautiful little zines from Rebecca Crawford. She is an artist who lives in Scotland. Rebecca is a lovely person. She's a patron of mine, and she's made these zines about her time volunteering on the island of Rum and the Isle of Hoy. I just love any opportunity to think about the Scottish Islands because I am desperate to travel to them. This one is an illustrated one, and then this one contains her photography. And then the last zine that I've actually read is a travel journal by Anka Weckman. They are a very prolific illustrator, and I followed their work for ages. And yeah, I bought one zine, and then I had another one that was gifted to me that I haven't got to yet. This one. And then also so many lovely freebies as well. Some really beautiful, a beautiful sticker, and some really lovely illustrated postcards as well, which is really, really generous. This is probably an example of the type of zine that I would keep by my bedside table because it's lovely to read just before bed. This zine has a big focus on food, which I really appreciate, and whenever I travel, all I want to document is my food, so I really relate. Now we get to the pile that I am yet to read. I've been reading so much. I did hope to have read all of them by the time I got to filming this video, but alas, that has not happened. This one is from Polly Draws. In actual fact, it's 3 little zines inside. We've got Small Joys 1, 2 and 3. This zine I think is going to be really interesting, and I really appreciated the subject matter of this one. So this is a zine that is about a Netflix documentary, the one called The Social Dilemma. I think it was on Netflix. I've not seen it, and it's all about social media. It's very, very apt that I'm looking for ways to get away from social media, and then there's a little zine all about the negative sides of social media. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Let me know if I should watch The Social Dilemma or not. I don't know. I think it might stress me out too much. So this zine is made by Ellie Riley. I don't know if I said that already. I'll leave all of the zines linked in the description, like I said. So this is a zine by Aleesha Nandhera, Thinking in the Dark. Volume 2. This is quite like an introspective zine, I think. This one I'm really excited to read. It's a zine that a lot of people have collaborated on, which is really nice. And the founder of this zine is called Katie Ravenscraig, and she wrote me a beautiful note to say that she watches my videos, which is really nice. All of the contributors to this zine answered a very open brief. Tell me about where you are in these uncertain times. So there's artists, illustrators, photographers, printmakers, poets, and writers in this zine, and I can't wait to get into it. We are nearing the end now, I promise. There's only 3 more zines to talk about. So the first one is called Ask Me About the Birds I Saw Today, Poems and Sketches by Letty Wilson. Letty is someone that I speak to online, I believe on Twitter mostly. A collection of poems about birds, which is beautiful. Can't wait to read that. Oh, I shouldn't have left this one till the end, because this one is one that I think a lot of people are going to be interested in. It's a zine about how to make your own zine by Christina Baksinski. They are someone who's very prolific in the zine world in the UK. I've bought some of their zines before. I've got this one, which is a little seasonal zine. We've made it to the last zine. It's called We're Not Flying Rats by Elizabeth Queerstret. It's a zine about pigeons and how we shouldn't discriminate against pigeons. And I love that message. On the back it says, pigeons are often sidelined, unnoticed and dismissed. This zine aims to bring light to their beauty. It's kind of amazing what a big difference a small life can make. The insignificant can be significant. You can be significant. Which is a really nice message, isn't it? So that's everything that I'm going to talk about in today's video. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of my zine collection, and I hope it's inspired you to go look at some zines by artists that you really like, and maybe consider it as an avenue away from spending so much time on social media, finding different ways to have that slow appreciation of art that is being robbed of us on social media platforms. Thanks for watching this video. If you're new here, please subscribe. I also have a Patreon that you can follow if you'd like to see more content from me, and I'll see you again soon for more videos. Bye.